chance.
46-1. He's getting consistent. Yeah, I'll say.
Newman has never competed at Road Atlanta. His racing has been confined to the tough Northeast region, where he finished second in a B sedan. He uses practice sessions to learn the course and sort out the car, as well as take measure of the other drivers. Newman has never competed against the top men in the rest of the country. It's the kind of pressure a newcomer must learn to handle. The accident is a costly lesson. Newman is unhurt, except perhaps for his pride.
You know, I crashed the car because I was just too eager, that's all. I mean, I knew, you know, that you've got to drive your own race or your own qualification. You can't drive somebody else's. So I got sucked into that and made a mistake, that's all. But I knew that before I got here. That it wasn't something, I just forgot it.
Newman's car is damaged beyond repair. Sharp arranges to have a spare body brought to Atlanta from their home base in Connecticut. In 48 hours, the car is transported and rebuilt, just in time for the last qualifying session. But it means starting all over again.
Car, Paul's never driven before. It's been put together carefully, but in a tremendous rush. And we don't have the time to take our time dialing everything in the way we normally would.
Here's the fine eating, you know, it's the little things, you know, to get the seat back far enough for that steering wheel. You find that your roll bar hits you right in the back of the helmet, so you'll be driving most of the time like this. There's that, and throttle springs are heavier, and it's going to be what we call fun and games. Or as an old Western buddy of mine who wrote a film that I did once, he'd come away from these marvelous cattle trips down in Mexico, and he'd just go out on a 2-week bat and just would march around saying that he was just a running and a playing.
I think Paul is in a lot of ways far more dedicated to the driving that he does than a lot of the drivers are. He very, very seriously wants to do a good job.
Qualifies the new 510 Datsun 15th in the middle of the pack. His best lap time is 6 seconds under that of teammate and pole sitter Bob Sharp. Jim Fitzgerald, another team member, qualifies second and is a serious threat to Sharp's attempt at a third consecutive B sedan title.
You can watch races and you can think about it, but time on the course in close competition with other drivers, knowing when to go ahead and go under the guy in a corner and when to back off, let the other fellow go through the corner and then take him coming out. We've watched Paul in a little over a year gain this experience very rapidly. But I think the more experience he gets on the track, the better he's going to do.
Like anything else in acting, too, you know, you're constantly aware of your own inadequacies. I mean, everybody wants to be Fangio or Stewart or somebody, and if you aren't, you kick yourself around a lot. I don't know. I just try to get out there and do the best I can, that's all.
Newman's teammates are both out of it. Fitzgerald with a blown tire and Sharp with mechanical problems. Defensive team honors falls to Newman. Newman works his way into ninth in a credible, if not satisfying, first championship effort. The B sedan victory goes to David Frelzen in a Datsun 510, his first national title.
You're the only one to finish, pal.
Well, but not every. The guy in front of me was throwing so much gasoline. So for the first 4 or 5 laps, anytime you get right back, I mean, I was just like, but I mean, not, you know, half a pint or anything, but he must have plenty filled his gas tank. Wow. A little gooey out there? To get going. Yeah. He wasn't even feeling that strong.
Huh? You may have the same thing as we did almost.
Well, except for your race, the only good thing was the bratwurst.
I think you did a good job. I really do. You drove a consistent race, finished the thing better than I did.
Well,
Newman was not particularly happy with his performance. A man of his accomplishments is never really satisfied just running and playing. car imaginable can be found at the Champion Road Racing Classic, the largest single racing event in the world. For 3 days, America's best amateur racers assault the 2.5-mile course at Road Atlanta. Of all the races, perhaps the most hotly contested is C Production. Heavily supported by auto manufacturers, this race traditionally brings together those drivers who most closely approach professionalism. Regional champions Dan Parkinson, Jim Fitzgerald, and Walt Moss possess the high level of skill typical of this division. Bob Tullius has never won a C Production title, not because he lacks the talent, but because his chief antagonist is perhaps the most consummate driver in all of amateur racing.
I started as soon as I was 21. I was chafing at the bit before I was 21, waiting to start.
That same enthusiasm has carried Bob Sharp to the summit of amateur racing. As both driver and head of a racing enterprise, he's become the standard by which all drivers and teams measure themselves.
It's not a lackadaisical, fun, happening kind of thing. It's a very managed, business-oriented, professional outlook towards racing in the whole atmosphere, I believe.
The opening lap of the C Production Classic is a revival of previous years. Sharp in his Z car, leading by inches with plenty of heat from Moss, Parkinson, and Tullius. Moss takes the lead by the second lap, but Sharp is still confident.
I think I could put together a little bit quicker lap than he could, and at that point what I had planned was that I'd just follow him. And with a lap or two to go, I'd pick a spot and try to dive bomb him a bit. Then I had an opportunity to get him, so I got him and put enough distance on him so he couldn't slipstream me down the chute.
Tullius retires his TR6 after 17 laps. As the race unwinds, Gary Rodriguez in a jet-black Lotus Europa turned Sharp's dream of a repeat victory into a nightmare.
I really didn't expect to see Gary come on, but I guess Gary motored right on by Walt. And as I saw him come up, boy, I put everything I knew to it. And I sure was glad to see that checkered flag.
Sharp's margin of victory was 0.2 of a second, hardly a runaway, but enough to give Sharp his second C Production title and 5th national championship.
The last 15 years.
Dentist Bill Schmidt has never won a national title. Even though he drives an outdated Porsche exceptionally well, his interest in racing is deeper than the pure sensation of driving a car to its limit.
And it's somewhat of an emotional thing, and we put a lot of time and effort into developing it to try and make it competitive. And that, again, is more a large part of the challenge, trying to take a car that's technically obsolete and perhaps not competitive and refine it and engineer it to the point where it is competitive. I'm not a team worker, you might say. I'm more or less interested in challenges that I can rise up to, whether they be with myself or against another driver. But it's just part of my makeup, I presume. Most drivers, I think, are very individualistic. They're sort of success-motivated. They're hard-driving individuals, and I think they have to be to put forth the commitment that is really necessary to win. You lay on the line yourself, and if you really mess up, you're the one to blame, and if you don't, great. But that's the way it is.
From start to finish, E-Production satisfies the hungriest of racing appetites. Schmidt scrubs and picks his way from 4th, wedging the Porsche between the MGBs of Brian Firstenau and Mother Mueller. John McFadden gets sideways on the pit straight, clearing the track immediately in front of the leaders. For Bill Schmidt, there are few moments as pleasurable as making a run to the front.
Oh, definitely. It's an ego trip. I mean, no question about it when you do well. It's great. Well, I don't think about it consciously, but it's a visceral thing, sort of. When you go through a corner really right, it's a great feeling. You know it. You can feel it. The car tells you. It's a proprioceptive feedback. You feel the car moving, the motions, and it's part of you, and you feel it. It's great.
The lead changes frequently as Northeast co-champions Schmidt and Firstenau dice for inches. In the final laps, Mother Mueller joins the skirmish. The distance between the three front runners cannot be measured. It'll be a last lap run for the flag.
Bill Schmidt overshot turn 11 and needed the proverbial great piece of driving to bring the car home in one piece. Brian Firstenau and Lee Mueller zipped past in their MGBs to finish 1-2. Schmidt's third place finish, a real crowd pleaser, though Bill was far from satisfied.
Hey, don't worry about it. You did beautiful. I know.
I hit some oil or something because the car got all out of shape under the bridge, and I went right off the road and fought to get back on. I was trying to avoid the wall over there, and I managed to collect it and get back on the road.
Brian Firstenau won this one. Like Bill Schmidt and all the weekend champions, he gave it all he had on the road to glory.
Thanks. Gentlemen, please. I think somebody. Yeah. Are you kidding? Yeah. Going into it, I had it pretty well made. And coming up the hill, I either hit oil or went too deep because I came into the first. That was it.
There are a couple of sad footnotes to that race. Paul Newman's pal Jim Fitzgerald, who later became a driving instructor at Road Atlanta, died in a racing crash. Fitz is remembered by a park and monument erected in the infield at Road A. The track itself, which has hosted 25 SCCA runoffs, has always had a tough time financially, and early in 1991, the owners declared it bankrupt, once again raising questions about its future as a racing facility. But the year-end festival known as the Runoffs lives on, reflecting the spirit of amateur competition that has long been the backbone of the SCCA. For those drivers, the Runoffs are the glory days. I'm Dave Despain. I'll see you next week.